Hey guys, so in my last video I talked about the Google Cloud setup for the free instance of Ghost. This could apply to WordPress as well. There's another video on that if you want to check that out. So at the moment in this example I've just got a Ghost demo running here, and that's the external IP. So now there's a way to get an SSL. So at the moment there is no SSL, and unfortunately with Google Cloud it's a lot more complicated than using like DigitalOcean, which I'll link down below. You need to set up a load balancer. So how I've done it at the moment, and I will link down to the documentation on that because it's very thorough and you just basically follow those steps. So I won't go through all of that because it's quite thorough and it takes a long time, but I want to show you guys because there was nothing. I was looking for an example on how this is set up and I couldn't find anything, so I'll show you everything that I've set up. I've just called this web map HTTPS, so this isn't the load balancer. Bear in mind there is a cost with this as well, so it's charging me 50p a day for a load balancer, so that is quite expensive compared to other platforms that may include all this for free. It is more advanced. You can have like automatic virtual machines built for you in scale, so like it's more robust, and if you're using it for a web app or something it could be quite good, to be honest. So what I've done here, you've got the so there's a few things. You have to create the SSL policy, which is here. So let's just have a look at this. There we go. So here we have the document, and you basically follow these steps. Now, so first off, you do have to set up a certificate, and then you create a Google Managed certificate. And this can take like an hour, so don't panic if once you've set up your load balancer, you just have to wait a bit. And you can see this is what I've done. I've created this one called hashtag SSL. And basically you follow these steps, and you want to use the console, not the app, because that's more techie. But if you're that way inclined, follow those steps, and it does work by following these. So I've added my domains there, and it will just automatically get that SSL for you, and it's already been done for me on that case. Then the next step is to create a load balancer. So as I showed you earlier, you just link on there, you go to the load balancer. This is what I set up earlier. It's a backender service. I use the protocol HTTPS, access types external, and we'll keep it classic because it's a bit complicated. So follow these steps, name it, front end configuration, click the correct front end, and yeah, it's pretty much yeah, you don't want to just ignore all that. So it's very detailed if you want to go into more detail, but I just wanted something quickly. So I've got we've got a front end, back end, and a load balancer. So again, let's show you the load balancing. So feel free to copy these settings if it helps you in any way. I wish I had something like this. So you've got this front end, which is the IP address. So this is what you'd point your website to. So for example, you would point your a record to this address, which will be the front end. So when it hits the load balancer, it'll then link it to the back end, and the back end will be the compute engine we created. So let's have a look at this. As you can see, it's very complicated, but so got the SSL, the front end of the load balancer. Right, now we want the back end. Now the back end links to this, and this basically connects up the compute engines you've got in the background, and like I said, you could have them running in parallel to either relieve stress on one server or as a backup, so it works. And you could have multiple ones, but this is how we've set it up. So you can see here, endpoint, we've got cloud CDN enabled. I mean, that might be costing me a bit of money. I can't remember. And there we go. So that's the back end part. And now it's going to link this back end here to the virtual machine instances. At the moment, there isn't any in here, which is a very complicated part of it, because you need to add them in here. So, and it can do it automatically. So let's go to edit, and we're going to select the VPNs here. So this is the one I've created, and I'll select OK, and I'll save. And that is now going to link that into the load balancer backend. Quite powerful. You know, you could have multiple, you could have two duplicates of that, so it can balance. But you could also have a when I first set it up, it was a special one that could just replicate templates. So if you had an image, and that could be quite useful for advanced setups. So you could scale to, you know, tens of thousands of users. So now we've successfully linked that. This load balancer should now forward all traffic on the front end that hits this to the back end. So let's grab that IP address. So obviously at the moment this can happen, but as you can see, that load balancer IP has changed and it matches this one. So it's like the proof of concept there. So that is working. The SSL won't work because I need an A record point to that. So how it's currently set up, it should be pashtech.co.uk. That points to this IP address, and then that would resolve as a then it would just, on the front end, it would just look like, you know, pashtech.co.uk, and it would generate that SSL for the pashtech.co.uk, which I've already set up in the certificate bit here. So you can see it's an SSL for that one and that one, so it will include www. and the one without, and that is basically it. You can see it working there. And then don't panic, give it a half an hour for the SSL to be generated. It's not instant, and yeah, you're good to go. I mean, feel free to jump around the video, try and match up what I've done with what's told here. But I spent quite a lot of time on this trying to get it to work, and I just thought it'd be useful for you guys out there who're struggling. Feel free to ask any questions down below, and if you're looking for something more simple, then DigitalOcean's probably the way to go. I'll link that down below, and I'll link to a video about how to set up a Ghost install or WordPress install on DigitalOcean. They'll be linked down below. There's two videos